So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil finds his groove in them rhythm and blues that send. It's gonna get you sun in the end.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Souther Teague.
And I'm Greg Benson, and it is sports season, baby. Summer is upon us. It's hot, it's sweaty, and there are more sports than you can shake a stick at. We're going to get to the big one in a second. But first of all, in addition to the World Cup, which has produced some really stellar moments, like a whole bunch of Scotsmen at the Boston Red Sox game, just staying and doing Scottish football chants 30 minutes after the game ended. And my beloved Washington Nationals finally doing well for the first time in many, many years. We are, as of this taping, sitting in a wild card spot.
Wow.
I think we should talk about the relationship between your absolute favorite thing in the entire world, Souther, the world of sports, and the thing that seems to be our little corner of the universe here, drinks and bars. Have you observed, as a bar owner yourself, an uptick in the number of people coming into your establishments because of all of the sports that are just flying around in the ether these days?
Oh, quite the opposite. At Amore Margo, we don't have television. Plus, it's a pretty tiny space. So we are seeing, a pretty visible decrease in business during these events because we don't have anything to offer them.
I know a lot of people were betting big, particularly, and when I say people here, I mean, the good folks at Anheuser-Busch and SAB Miller Coors were betting really, really big that the World Cup would bring huge numbers of fans into bars. A little bit too early for the data to tell, but I did see one article from Houston that people were not going out to bars downtown, which that might just be a Houston problem. Having been there myself, doesn't really seem like people do that there. But reading the tenor of these articles, it's a little bit like the World Cup is this giant wooden ship that's been built by this one crazy guy that he's loading a bunch of animals onto. And everyone else is kind of looking around like, oh, it looks like rain. Hope this ship works.
Right. I think, I'm sure it's going to vary city by city. New York certainly has an influx of people here right now for World Cup. I'm seeing soccer jerseys everywhere I go. I do see lots of bars that are airing the games that are spilling out into the streets with people. It's definitely drawing. You asked specifically about my bar, and my bar is not really involved in this. Plus, I don't think my bar is the space, right? Like, you want to go to watch a World Cup game. I don't think sitting down to a session of bitter stirred cocktails is what's on the agenda.
Well, if you'll recall, 7 years ago when the Nationals won the World Series, what was my first stop after I left New York City's one and only DC sports bar?
I mean, it sounds like it was Amore Margo because I don't remember.
I do that, Ben. I will remember as the lights are going off in my brain. Probably one of the last things I'll remember is the night the Nationals won the 2019 World Series. But yes, we went and we slammed down, I believe, a bunch of hard starts and Sharpie mustaches at Amore Margo, and then continued on our way.
Yeah, right.
So you didn't see any uptick at all, not even this past Saturday night when, if anyone has not been paying attention, and Knicks in 5 to all of you. New York City's premier basketball team won their first championship in 53 years. You didn't get anybody coming in for a nice, refreshing Manhattan after tipping over a school bus?
No, and the streets were wild. I was down on the Lower East Side. The bar, of course, is in the East Village. I was at a watch party at a friend's house, and the streets were absolutely flooded with people, especially post game. But again, Amore Margo, it's just not the type of space for that sort of thing. Just to put it into perspective, like one of our slowest nights of the year is New Year's Eve, because we don't have. It's just not a place that seems raucously celebratory. It's a place to go and sort of quietly celebrate, and I don't think that was what was happening.
Was definitely not. Although I will say I am really enjoying watching people just say Knicks in 5 to one another, like it's peace be with you or live long and prosper. It has just become it's become the in-group phrase of people in New York City that just means like, I see you as a friend and a member of this community, and I wish nothing but goodwill upon you. And honestly, I just feel like we should keep that going.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if we keep that exact phrase going. It would seem a little bit lost as time goes on, but yeah, there's, you're the sports fan among us, but I will say that this whole situation has really drawn the city together in a sense of unity that I haven't seen in a long time, and it's like it really speaks to the power of sports in general, like what the city, the camaraderie, the I don't know, the sort of like I don't know, the passionate like exuberance. What I don't like is the same thing most people don't like, all of the like the destruction that happened after the win. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen tomorrow. You're getting back to the city tomorrow, but you know there's a parade tomorrow, right?
It's going to be one of my first stops. I'm excited about it.
Down through the Canyon of Heroes.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's happening at 10 a.m., which I think was intentional after everything that happened at the last game. So probably slightly less property damage. Emphasis
Right.
on the slightly. And a lot of champagne being popped. And
I'm
speaking
sure.
of champagne, I actually
Yeah.
got a good segue in this week. We have joining us today our special guest all the way from the Champagne region of France. He is the global executive director of the Telmont Champagne House. It is Justin Meade. Justin, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. It's great to see
Yeah,
you.
welcome.
Thanks for having me. Nice to see you guys. Happy to be on the show.
We are excited to have you here. And I want to dig right into what you're doing with your brand. So you've really planted your flag as the sustainability champagne, and we'll get to specifically what you're up to in a second. But first, I want to ask, what went into making that happen? I imagine that pivoting century-old brands doesn't really happening overnight. So what conversations did you have to kind of get to the place where you are now?
Our project, so our champagne house is called Telmont. We're a small champagne house, and we like to say that, we're small and proud to be small. It means you can grow the grapes differently, and we believe in organic, and make the wines differently. And we believe in being quite radical when it comes to sustainability. And in the end, when I say we're small, we're only 17 people. And when we bought the champagne house, we basically just applied our own personal values to our professional projects. And we're going to say we're going to do it with no compromise, as we say in French, no blabla, small talk or empty promises for 2035 and all that stuff. We said we're just going to do it our way. And we're going to do it in a very pragmatic, down to earth, with concrete actions. And that's what's been driving us. And we're not perfect. Not everything is done yet, but we're doing it. And it comes from the heart because we believe, that the way forward can be different in Champagne, and that you can be radical and still be exciting, vibrant, like we all expect Champagne to be.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty powerful and pretty telling. 17. I didn't realize the number was so low. That means everyone's input matters and gets heard and gets valued, right?
It means we all have multiple jobs, first and
Well,
foremost.
there's that too. Yeah.
It's not like, we all do a bit of accounting. If something needs fixing, well, you don't look around to somebody else. You just get up and do it. And it means that you're more in a startup mode. We're a century-old startup in the end. We were born still recreating something. We're born in 1912, but we're doing something really different now. And it's, 8 women, 9 guys, so it's on parity, and everyone's has a voice, as you're saying, and we all have multiple hats to make it happen.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I want to talk a little bit about your sail-powered freight, because you said you're kind of doing something new, but maybe back in 1912 this was the way it was done in the first place. So is this a thing? Tell me about sail-powered freight.
I think that's the cool thing. It's like sometimes, the best innovation are on paper quite simple things. And we said, if you want to be more sustainable in life, whatever the scale is, we're a small company. When it's talking about yourself individually in your own home, we believe that if you want to be sustainable, there are things that you have to stop doing. Okay, no compromise, no negotiation, etc. And so one of the first things we did is we said we're going to ban air freight, shipping merchandise by air. Because we found out, and I'm not a scientist, but you do your research, and we found out that shipping by air merchandise pollutes 43 times more than by sea freight. Wow, that's 43 times worse. It's not 2 or 3 times worse, it's 43 times worse. So we said, okay, we stop. We're going to ship everything by regular boat. And we're quite lucky enough that we know that Christmas comes around the same time every year, so you can plan ahead and ship your champagne at the right price at the right time. And then we entered a partnership with this company called Neoline. and they were building a cargo sail ship. And it took a bunch of years. So we would have been waiting for like 4 or 5 years for this boat to be ready. And up to till this day, you could ship merchandise by sea, but by the pallet. And it's complicated to load into the vessel, it's complicated to load out. And so this is the first cargo capacity sailboat that you can load in and load out entire containers.
Mm-hmm.
130 meters long or a bit more. It's got 3,000 square meters of sails, and it's heavy duty in all the technology. It's automatic sails. It's got all the routing technology. And as you're saying, this is not new technology. We used to ship things around the world by sailboat. So it's not revolutionary. It's just using new technology with an ancient method. And if everything goes well in terms of weather out there when you're actually sailing, you could reduce your CO2 emissions by 80% compared to a normal voyage, which is massive when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started shipping. First of all, we baptized the boat because you know that people are quite superstitious when it comes to sailing. So you baptize the boat with a big bottle of Telmont, and then the first crossing was mid-October from France to the US. So that was the first container of Telmont making its way to you guys on a sailboat.
I remember the last time I actually saw someone take a bottle of champagne and baptize a sailboat, but I imagine that's, you know, that you had no shortage of supplies to do that. So that was kind of a no-brainer for you all there.
Still breaks your heart, you know, when you break a bottle. Come on, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous decrease in, you know, waste output, and I love to hear that. But what does this do for like speed of delivery? Sailboat surely isn't making the crossing as quickly as a motorboat. And then how? Obviously, you don't own the sailboat, I assume, but like, are other brands, are other products, shoes, tires, I don't know, are they getting on board and saying, you know what, I'm gonna ship my stuff by this sailboat from that side to this side, and also the return voyage, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a new company. So the first crossing was in October. So it's the beginning, you know, of the adventure. I'm not an expert either in maritime transport, but I understood that it's not that much longer. The sailboat cargo sail ship takes 12 days to do the crossing, and I think a normal vessel is like maybe 10. So it's not like, you know, it's
Negligible, yeah.
yeah, it's not like it's triple the time, and I'm not sure my figures are like 100% accurate, but it's not, you know, double or triple the time. It's still, as I was saying, you have technology routing now that allows you to maximize your route against winds and currents, things that we didn't have back in the day. We kind of had other tools that weren't as sophisticated. And of course, they have lots of other clients using the vessel. When we were shipping, they were also shipping cars back and forth. They were also shipping other products from the group Telmont belongs to, so some cognac and some Cointreau. And so yeah, it's a cargo sail ship, so there's plenty of room to ship other stuff, as you're saying, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they also have 6 rooms that you can book and do the crossing as a guest, which is nice. No
Incredible.
Wi-Fi, no internet, no cell phone for 12 days. Maybe you can write your book or read a few books at the same time.
Well, when Greg and I come to visit the vineyards, we're taking the boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
We'll just
There you
we don't even need to, you know, you don't even need to book us a room. We'll just hitch a ride in a container ship with the champagne. It might not all make it to its destination, but we'll be happy. I want to touch on another innovation that I was intrigued to hear about that I really want to get into: the glass that your bottles are made out of. You, by nature of making this shift, had to develop an entirely new technology to actually make these bottles. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, we just like the example of the cargo sail ship, you take an existing technology and you better it in some way. So it's a revolution within an existing framework. Today, you guys all picked up a bottle of champagne, and you can tell it's heavy. It's super heavy compared to a regular bottle of wine. You can really weigh the difference, literally. And it's because, you know, there's a second fermentation that happens inside the bottle. And that second fermentation is going to exercise a lot of pressure, internal pressure on the bottle. There's actually twice more pressure in a bottle of champagne than there is in the tire of your car. So that second fermentation is pretty heavy duty stuff. So you do need a certain thickness of glass, and i.e. then resistance, so that the bottle doesn't explode. And so when you look at champagne bottles, first, you look at the champagne bottles that have like a special fancy shape. You recognize them from a distance. These ones, and sorry, I'm going to speak in grams, European measures, but they're 900 grams, or sometimes up to 1 kilo, the empty bottle.
Mm-hmm.
The questions we asked ourselves is said, well, do you need a special looking bottle to make a good wine? The answer is no, you don't. You just need a regular bottle. So we stopped using all the ones that have a special fancy shape, just a regular shape, like some of the ones you see right behind me, if you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we did that, we said, but how can we work on reducing the weight of the standard champagne bottle even more? And we designed a new standard champagne bottle going from 835 grams to 800 grams. So we shaved 35 grams. And we tested it for 3 years throughout the entire production process, and it doesn't break. So it works. And more importantly, there's no exclusivity on it. There's no patent. It's open source.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can adopt it in Champagne, so that collectively we can reduce our CO2 emissions. And what's really key here is to have innovation that is scalable. And since this bottle is exactly the same as the previous standard one, it's a classic shape, it requires absolutely no modification of the industrial equipment. You don't need to change anything. You just need to stop buying the heavier one and start buying the lighter one to make your champagne. So you can put it in motion really fast once you feel comfortable that it's not going to break. And we feel comfortable it's not going to break. So that's what I'm talking about. Simple, down-to-earth innovation that actually has a big impact.
Using a sailing ship instead of a motorized vessel to travel across the sea, to not use air freight to bring your product over, to change the bottle, which it can change your company. But as you just said, it's universal size, so anyone can use it. So you're kind of changing the entire landscape. And speaking of landscapes, then let's talk about what sort of sustainability innovations you're making out on the vineyard and how that's affecting the way you make. We'll finally get to the product inside the bottle.
I mean, it's everything we do at Telmont, what we like to say, we do in the name of Mother Nature. It's kind of our like mantra, And so there are two legs to everything we do. The first leg is in the vineyard, and the second leg is CO2 reduction in everything we do. And I like to say, we tend to forget in Champagne that we are farmers to start with. That's what we do. We're not here to wear like a fancy suit and a tie. Our job, we're farmers, is to grow the grapes. And we believe, hardcore in organic agriculture. And what does it mean exactly? Organic, when you get down to the very specifics of what makes a difference, when you are organic, it means that you're going to grow the grapes and you're going to make the wines using no herbicides, no synthetic pesticides, no synthetic fungicides, and no synthetic fertilizers. It's good old farming before the world wars. And for us, it makes such a difference in, of course, the quality of the soil, because now we have soils that are alive, the health of the workers that are not exposed to these chemicals, the quality of the water that we all drink, because whatever you put on the soil, there's no magical sponge is going to end up in the water, and we all drink it. And we see the results in the grapes. We have grapes that have more maturity and more acidity, more tension. And so down the road, good grapes yields good wines. We have wines that they're just vibrant, they're alive, full of energy, and you can really feel the difference. But to feel that, you got to open a bottle, you got to try it out. And today, only 5% of Champagne is organic. So it's a minority. We're a minority, and we're really trying to push that movement far and forward.
So I just have to ask, and this is a question I feel obligated to ask anytime I'm talking about sustainability innovations with someone on this show. Why isn't everyone else doing this? It sounds like we've heard the upsides of it. Sailing reduces the carbon footprint. You don't really lose that much time. The bottles still hold all the champagne. They don't shatter. The juice in the bottle is really good as a result of these farming practices. How come you are still an outlier in this? Why aren't these practices becoming more industry standard, do you think?
Well, good question. First of all, there's been a lot of progress in Champagne as a whole, as a region, and you can see it's getting greener and greener. So there is a movement, and it's underway, and I think it gives us all hope that we're all going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think also that, modern agriculture that uses all these chemicals has become a standard. And even though it's less than 100 years old, basically, it's become the norm of how you're supposed to grow food and grow grapes, etc. And so it's not that easy to switch. And third of all, organic is hard.
Hmm.
It's more work, like you're more exposed to disease. You have to be more present in the vineyard. And when things do get tough, let's say we have a lot of rain right now in June, July, you got to go fight the mildew and you can lose a lot of yield. We have years where we lost 80% of our yield in certain areas. So it can be massive. There's a real economic impact. But we believe, yes, it's going to be less grapes, but better quality. And so that's the bet we're taking.
How does that translate into the way you position this brand for the customer? Because, Champagne just kind of by its nature is a luxury brand. It's the champagne of sparkling wines. So how are you marrying the kind of crunchier aspects of the whole sustainability movement with that real luxury sense?
I think people are looking for meaningful luxury, honestly. I think, there's been a luxury which is more status driven. And I think there's been a global awakening of the impact we all have and the impact of what we buy and to want products and brands that stand for something and have a role to play in the world. And we believe that's what we're proposing. We're proposing another face of Champagne, but we're also saying that you can be sustainable and you can be cool. You can be lifestyle. Like sustainability is not an impediment. It's not, something we need to feel sorry about. And that's why we're coming with all these projects that are different, that are cool, that are showing that you can go forward. And it's for all these reasons that we welcome now 3 years ago a new investor in Champagne Telmont, and it's Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor and environmental activist that you guys all know, that tasted the wines and he said, "Wow, I know about your wines. This is amazing." Then we told him everything we're trying to do in terms of organic, changing that landscape and reducing our CO2 emissions. And he said, "I want to help. I want to be part of it. I want to help you grow the organic movement in Champagne and build a sustainable wine company." And so he took out his checkbook and invested in the house. And this is also allowing us to, increase the awareness of who we are and make our project desirable and say, we can all do it.
Leo wanted to be on the show, by the way, but we told him, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. We got Justin. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to book him, but
we're good."
Yeah.
You can call me Justin Di Carpaccio if you want.
Yeah. Listen,
That's how you're being credited in the show notes officially.
I think that this is totally aligned, in my opinion. Like, I think that luxury is a little bit more difficult. Luxury is a little bit more, hard to attain. And so, if you're doing all these things that are sort of correct, then you're really just tracing it back to the luxury. This seems like a pretty good time for Greg and you to pop your bottles. I'm not going to pop mine for two reasons. One, it's a little early in the day, and I don't have anybody to share it with. And two, mine wasn't chilled yet. So why don't you guys pop open and then Justin, I want to talk to you a little bit about SailGP, right? You've gotten involved with these hyper boat races. How did that partnership come to pass?
That's pretty cool, actually. Well, I've always been personally into sailing, and
Same. I'm never happier than when I'm on the water.
I was saying to Vicky, who's the amazing person behind the scenes who put this episode together, shout out to Vicky. Champagne really gives me a chance to be a carbonation geek. And I really, really love the very intense, sharp, and just kind of ubiquitousness of the bubbles in these. Like, they're not kind of like big fat ones that kind of show up and disappear. You have these really, they're fun to look at, and they feel really, really good on your tongue when you drink it. The bubbles in these bubbles are spot on.
I agree. I like to talk about our style as somewhat of a paradox. when you taste Telmont for the first time, because when you taste champagnes, usually you can put them in two very broad categories. They're either fresh and crisp, that's one style, or they're fruity and structured. And when you're going to taste Telmont, the Réserve de la Terre Verte, the first thing you're going to have is you're going to have this minerality, this freshness. We talk about positive acidity, but at the same time, which is what is unexpected, you have the fruitiness that's there. It's a bit of that light green apple, like the skin of the green apple. It's fruity but not sweet. And then the signature of the house, as you're saying, Greg, is we're really looking for these delicate bubbles. We don't want these heavy duty bubbles that make it super hard to appreciate champagne for the wine that it is. And then you took your sip, and then it's persistent. It's long lasting. The wine is there, but it's not heavy. It doesn't go down there into your stomach. It stays quite ethereal, which makes you want to have another sip.
It is very much the breakfast of champions over here. I'm feeling very Winston Churchill-y. I've literally got this, an apple with peanut butter and coffee, and I can't remember the last time I felt this sophisticated at 9:30 in the morning. I'll tell you that.
Hey, no judgment, Greg. It's 3:30 in Paris, so I'm more legitimate, but I'm not judging.
There's no wrong time for champagne, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back a little bit and touch on the SailGP situation. How did you partner up with those guys?
So we met the UK team of the SailGP. So as you know, SailGP is this competition around the world now, from Asia to Americas to ending in Europe and the Middle East, where you have these F-50 foil sailboats that kind of basically fly above the ocean almost.
Yeah, hydrofoil, yeah.
Hydrofoil that go about 100 plus kilometers an hour, so they're just zooming by. And the UK team, what we thought was interesting is the UK team, they won the competition on the water last year. They were number one in the race. But there's actually two competitions at SailGP. There's the race on the water, and then there's the race for the most sustainable team, which we thought was quite relevant for us to be part of this competition, of this movement. And the UK team, last year, they won both competition. Most sustainable team, it's called the Impact League, and they won the race.
Great.
So we thought it would be good to band together because we share the same values, and it's about this sports, which is about performance, excellence, which resonates with champagne. It's about making an excellent wine, but about doing it with purpose and using that platform to also raise awareness, because they go around the world and they partner with local NGOs. And there's a 360 going on, which we thought was relevant to be part of.
Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the industry as a whole, winemaking and champagne making. How is champagne doing? We get a lot of articles these days about how people are drinking less. Is that affecting the world of champagne the way it's affecting every other category? Or talk to us a little bit about how's biz?
Champagne, like the rest of the wine and spirits category, has been suffering for the past few years globally, whether it's at home in France or internationally. So we've seen, I'd say, a decrease in the sales. Everybody came out of COVID with a revenge, and so there was a pretty high consumption after COVID. And then I think we all suffered from a lot of macroeconomic impacts that you can't control. And as you're saying, maybe also a trend of drinking less, even though within this trend there is drinking less but drinking better, which can also benefit from champagne. So it's been tough on champagne. I think we're now closer to a stabilization point. So maybe the worst is behind. And within that, Telmont has been growing consistently during that same time frame and growing strong. So it's very positive. We're very thankful, and I think it's also to the point that there is a clientele out there looking for an alternative within the champagne world. And so whether it's in the US, whether it's in Japan, whether it's in the UK or in France, we've been seeing some really good growth, and we're very thankful for these trailblazer clients that are like, yes, I want to try a sustainable and organic champagne.
If you're hearing the sound of my voice right now, I've got some bad news for you. You are only getting about 60 to 70% of the conversation that we had today with our guest. But if you want to hear the whole thing, you can join us and become a regular on our Patreon.
That's right. To hear the rest of the conversation, join us on our Patreon, become one of our regulars, and you'll receive all kinds of perks, including ad-free listening, so you won't have to hear us do this again.
And in addition to ad-free listening and longer shows, you are also going to get cocktail recipes from all of our guests, access to our live monthly hangouts, and a free cocktail kit each and every month from our good friends at Shaker and Spoon.
So head over to Patreon and become a regular of the Speakeasy. We'd love to have you there. Cheers. In a weird way, it feels like you're not necessarily even really being innovative when it comes to all the things that you're doing out there to the grapes. It seems like you're going back to the origins, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is the way things were farmed
Exactly.
before. We didn't have all these tools, modern tools to increase, our capacity to grow, whatever it is, before the world wars. So you are going to something more basic, but also, honestly, that really drives more quality. You can really tell the difference when you taste something that is organically grown versus the opposite. And you can see it in our wines. And just back to your point, Souther, going back to the basics, one of the other things we did is, the standard in Champagne when it comes Christmas time, November, December, you want to buy some champagne because you're going to make a gift, and it comes in a fancy gift box.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the wine merchant, you can't even see bottles. You see like a sea, ocean of gift boxes. And here we asked ourselves the same question: do you need a box to make a good wine? No, you don't. You don't need a box. And so we said, you stop the boxes, you stop the tin boxes, you stop the limited editions, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to try and make great wine. My job is not to make boxes. I'll leave that to other people. Let's focus on the simple things. So yes, we're going back to things that are just common sense, but the money that I save on making the box, I put in the organic grapes. I put it where it matters. That allows me to increase the quality and to have wines that are stellar, that are unique, that are expressions of terroir. And I think part of the innovation is there. It's in choosing your priorities and focusing on what matters.
I love it. I'm sure that was a difficult decision to make because consumers love those boxes, right? They love anything that makes anything cute.
I think they're tacky. I'm just going to put it out there. Anytime I see something with a box, anytime I buy a product that I like that comes in a box or a tin or whatever, that the first thing that happens is it goes in the recycling bin.
A simple little ribbon tied around the neck is all I need.
Exactly.
If even that, frankly.
A little silk paper, which is tiny, which is fine. And again, our sales are growing. So if you explain to clients that you don't need this, they understand. And we all have bad habits in life. One of those can be that we have an expectation that you need a lot of surrounding things around a luxury product, and maybe that's not true. And what we really want is a good product to start with.
Yeah. One of the ways I love to enjoy champagne is alongside of one of my favorite foods in the world and one of Greg's nemesis foods, oysters. I'm a huge oyster fan. The listeners know this. But you've partnered up with Billion Oyster Project as well. What does your partnership with the Billion Oyster Project look like and entail?
Yeah, I think these guys are really cool what they're doing in the New York Harbor, and so we found out what they were doing, and I know that they partnered up with SailGP in the past with the UK team, so we had heard about that, and I like the very pragmatic approach that they have, which is if you restore oyster reefs, you have some significant benefits that are brought by that because oyster reefs, they bring biodiversity when they're there because they're a natural habitat to many other species, and I'm not an expert. That they earn super added benefit when it comes to water filtration. So they're a natural filter. And then when the weather is rough, and that happens more and more often, they can be a good storm barrier. So they bring a lot of things on top of being a great pairing with our champagne. A it. And so we're glad to partner up together when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to giving them exposure, and partner restaurants where you have Telmont, so that it's their oysters that are put forward, and create a virtuous cycle where we can contribute our own super humble level, and I'd say growing on their organization and their movement, because there's also a big education component. And so it will help, I hope, raise awareness on their project.
I love that there's like a sort of nautical theme running through this whole thing. You're using a sailing cargo ship. You're backing the SailGP team. You're dealing with a Billion Oyster Project. It all tracks for me.
We just also revealed a few months ago something else that was really dear to my heart, because in our category, when it comes to agriculture, you hear a lot the word, regenerative,
Hmm.
regenerative agriculture, which can be very wide, and what is and what isn't can be unclear. And so we found out about this movement, which is called the Regenerative Organic Alliance, which was founded by a few companies. You have Patagonia, Dr. Bronner's, and the Rodale Institute that came together to saying, we need to create a certificate, some type of label that certifies that you are regenerative organic. And the baseline of this certification is, say, to be regenerative, first you have to be organic. Or
Hmm.
if you put it some other way, you cannot be regenerative if you're not organic first, which makes
Right.
sense.
Hmm.
How can you be regenerative if then you're going to use herbicides, synthetic pesticides? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And so Champagne Telmont is the first and only champagne house to be regenerative organic certified. So as Christopher Gergen likes to say, because the label is called Rock, let's rock on with champagne. Super proud because we're the first champagne guys to be on the map of the regenerative organic certified movement, which is now global, but there's only 41 wineries in the world today that are certified. So again, another niche.
You bring up something interesting about this particular certification. And the reason I like it is because there are so many standards that you have to uphold. I think part of the problem and part of what can be confusing to consumers is this fact that there are so many things that sound good and
Mm.
sound like you're making a difference that you can put on your label or your product without having to actually sacrifice too much or change your organization too much or do the thing that may be slightly more personally difficult, but is definitely better for the planet. So what is your sense? And I know this isn't, I'm asking you a question that is an existential one for the human race. So no pressure if the answer is, I'm not 100% sure. But how do we get more brands to do what you're doing, to sign up for these initiatives that have these standards that actually hold people to account? And how do we educate the consumer on knowing what to look for in terms of brands that are making real change as opposed to performative change?
We have to grow the movement. We have to have more consumers and clients going out there and choosing them,
Hmm.
choosing these approaches, so that there's a desire for it and demand, I mean, and so production follows. And we chose this path of certification because of its robustness, because being certified means being audited. Audited means being audited by an independent certifying body.
Hmm.
So, and it's like the what do you call it in the U.S. the taxes. There's no surprise. It comes every year. Well, it's the
Yeah.
same for audits. There's no surprise. It's not random. It's like every year you will be audited, and you will be by someone independent that you don't know, that has no stake in it, and that will review everything you're doing according to a book of what is required, and you will be certified or not certified. And I think that's where we have to draw the line. It's like either you're doing it or you're not doing it. And then go back to, how do we grow this movement so that more people want it? I think we need to show that you can be sustainable and you can be lifestyle, because it's a way of life in the end. So first of all, let's not make it something negative. Let's not make something that we all feel bad because we're not perfect. And let's put it out there as something that it can be part of our daily life and can be part of exceptional moments. Telmont is the official champagne also of the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh, nice.
This festival in southern France. And Thierry Frémaux, French guy, who's the president of the festival, he's tasted the wines. He found out about our project. And he said, at the Cannes Film Festival, we have independent films. That's what we celebrate, artistry in independent filmmaking. Well, we should have artistry in independent champagne. Let's bring the two together. And I think these types of projects, like SailGP, we talked about, like Cannes Film Festival, we're also sponsor official champagne of the AMFAR, which raises funds to fund research fighting AIDS. You have to, I think, grow the movement in a way that makes it desirable so that more people out there choose us.
I really love the alignment with Ken, especially the way that he put it, right? If they're going to celebrate independent makers of art, then they should extend that out to all the things that they align themselves with. They should celebrate independent makers of champagne, of clothing, of whatever, right? I think that's brilliant.
So I tried to answer, Greg. I don't say that I have the answer, but far from that. And I think we just need to celebrate all the good stuff that's happening. You can show that you can have positive change. Nothing's perfect, and Telmont, we're not perfect. And I think that's what's important is it's a project in construction, just like we all have projects and things are not finite and over, and this is the way it is. Like right now, we have a number of initiatives I told you about. I'm really hoping we have more next year, and maybe we found out that this thing we're doing could be even done differently or better. And it's a continuing, sustainability is not an endpoint; it's a commitment to always trying to find solutions in your humble way, with your own means. If you don't have funds this year, then you wait until the next year. Well, nothing's perfect, but you just have to move forward. And we believe in concrete action now, like things that you can do that are very concrete.
I love that, man. And I know I asked you a very difficult question with a lot of existential implications for human beings. So we're going to end with a no less important question, but one that the fate of the planet hinges a little bit less on than my last one. Where are you drinking these days? What are some of your favorite spots, either where you are in Champagne or on the road that you like to visit? Where are some cool places you want to give a shout out to?
So last time I was in New York, I went to a cool restaurant and bar and more in the Midtown area called 53, which has cool Asian cuisine and a really full and fun bar. Mm-hmm. And they have the Billion Oysters over there, Southern. So if you're a fan of oysters in Champagne, you can go there. It's right by the MoMA, sorry. I had a great time there. And if you're visiting Paris, which I hope you do, because we have some really cool weather.
You're bringing us over, right? On the boat, remember?
Yeah.
First, you got to come and see me in Champagne, because when you come to Champagne, honestly, visiting Telmont is a fun adventure, because the first thing you're going to do when you arrive is I'm going to put boots on your feet and I'm going to take you to the vineyards. And you're going to see what Munich is all about. And I don't care if it's raining, you're still going out there.
Let's go.
And then you see everything. You see the atelier, you see the presses, you see the winery, you see the cellars, of course, you see the production line. We've got tools, we're not in the Stone Age. And you see a properly functioning independent unit from the grapes all the way to the bottle. And it's a pretty fun. But back to Paris, if you're visiting Paris, there's a really cool hotel called Dame des Arts, Dame of the Arts. And they've got a rooftop. It's right in front of Notre Dame. So it's in the heart of Paris. Mm-hmm. I think it's on like the 9th floor. So you have a really cool 360 view of the whole Paris. You see the Eiffel Tower. You go more like late evening, like around 8 or 9 p.m. in the summer. So you see the sunset and you see the Eiffel Tower sparkle. And of course, you order a bottle of champagne of Telmont with whoever you are and enjoy the view.
Well, Misha, come and meet us on the docks when we get off the boat, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, a 12-day sail, as you said, disconnected from the world might be just the ticket for me.
Sounds kind of nice, yeah.
How can people kind of follow along with your good works at Telmont? Do you have an Instagram that they can follow?
Yeah, for sure. Check out our Insta, Champagne Telmont. You can find us, follow us. You'll see everything we're doing. We like to curate content. Go and check out restaurants where you have chefs, that are think differently, see differently, that are very, of course, ingredient focused. And then we also like to check out types of ingredient. That guy that grows truffle this specific way, or that fisherman in the Mediterranean that only fishes this type of fish at this time of the year, to be really respectful of the reproductive process. So there's some pretty far out stuff on there, but we try to keep it light also and fun. So check it out.
Justin, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Nixon 5 to you and to everyone else who works at Maison Telmont. This has been delightful. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
It's been my pleasure, guys. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a lot of fun to chat with you. And in the name of Mother Nature, drink some Telmont. Cheers to you guys.
Well, be sure to follow Maison Telmont. Be sure to follow Justin out there. But for now, that is going to do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. However, if you still want more of our bubbly personalities in your life, you can become a regular on our Patreon. Our regulars get ad-free shows, longer shows, cocktail recipes from all of our guests, and a free curated selection of seasonal bitters from Bitter Queens down in Nolans. You also get access to our monthly after-hours hangouts where Souther and I get together in real time to have a drink with our regulars.
Mm-hmm.
The last Monday of every month. This one is fast approaching. It's going to be Monday, June 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. They're kind of AMAs. They're a little bit of a live stream. They're kind of a karaoke drink-along session, and they're always a good time. So if you want to join us, sign up and become a regular today. And now, before we go, as always, let's check in what's going on with our cousin podcast, Sauced. What's happening over there, Souther?
Well, Tim and I dug pretty deeply into, the current episode that's up that you can listen to is Beer Can Chicken. But Tim and I were recording yesterday for the next episode, and it's going to be a deep dive on paella and all the delicious things that we want to drink while making and eating that dish. And then, I don't know, we've got some other really cool stuff coming up. Next bonus episode will be released pretty soon. So check out Sauced, where we're cooking with booze and drinking with food.
Amazing. Check out Sauced and check out this same podcast that you're listening to right now next week when our guest is going to be Patty Dennison from Kinda Nice. It's a new spot here in New York City. Patty is lovely. Really excited to hear what they are up to over there. So tune in for that. But until that day, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll, Lord knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The